On this LensVid Talk, a fast battery charger, a fast card reader, and a fast Snorri cam used by Will Smith. Stick around.
Hello everybody, hello Lou.
Hey, Udo.
And today we're doing LensVid Talk number 26. So we're up there and we have a bunch of topics. Some of the topics that we're going to discuss are things that we're currently reviewing because this is shot about 3 weeks before this is aired. So here is a few of them. The first one is this thing that this is a charger by Blueshape, an Italian company. And we had this since IBC last year, so it's up to us that we are only now reviewing this, but actually I think it's important because we had some time to test this. It came to us with different plates and 65, I think, watt-hour USB-C charger. This is powered only by USB-C compared to other chargers. Right. You played with it a little bit?
Yeah, it has a couple of different charge settings, and I'm trying to figure out why the light kept signifying that it was going back and forth between two different charge settings. So it's got like a normal charge and then a fast charge.
Yeah,
it's got like a yellow
touch it,
and a
there's a touch mechanism, and and another thing which I noticed is that for whatever reason, Blueshape didn't, like, you can release these, which is cool, that's fine. That's not special to their plates, but there is no way of locking them. So I'm not a big fan of that. There are locking plates out there, especially for monitors, which I actually prefer.
It's more of a convenience thing. It's not like it actually causes
it doesn't
real
operate. It doesn't hinder the operation
Right.
in any way. But yeah, so that's one. A second thing that you will also be testing. Let me try and bring this in. Okay, so this is, hopefully this can be seen. This is the Ulanzi 120 watt
V-mount light.
V-mount light, yeah, but it's an RGB light, so that's cool. It's
Right.
it's a very small, very compact light in the box, and I've been asking Ulanzi about this because I'm not sure if this is just maybe a prototype or a pre-production version that we got. We only got the light. That's the first time that I'm getting a light without a power cable or even a reflector. And now the reflector, from what I've seen, is not supposed to be in the box, but maybe the power cable is, and we didn't get it. So I know I'm checking this with Ulanzi, but it's, again, we'll have a review in a few weeks. But the interesting part is that it's a very compact RGB light, and 120 watts is kind of powerful. So that's kind of nice. So that's the second thing, and the third thing is something that should be up very, very soon, way before this will be aired. And that's the Prograde CF Express Type A reader and card. But these are CF Express Type A 4 cards, card and reader. And the 4, do you know anything about this?
I'm so confused about the different versions.
Okay. So CF Express Type A, the original CF Express Type A, was based, I think, on basically a previous version of PCIe. And this one is a much more up-to-date version, which means that it's twice as fast. Now, I already tested this. I still have a couple of tests to make before we actually publish the review very soon. But from what I've been seeing, at least from the synthetic tests, it's about twice as fast on the reader when using this reader
taking information
compared to the original CF Express, the ones that we have and tested before. So that's a huge jump in performance.
Yeah.
The drawback is this.
Yeah.
This only works on the computer with a supported computer, so it's USB 4 or Thunderbolt 3.4, and it will not work at the moment with any Sony camera. So basically what it means is it won't work in the sense that it won't benefit from the extra speed. It will work like a regular CF Express Type A card. You only get the extra speed when using the fast reader on your computer.
Because we're talking about such huge amounts of data. The speed is now more than what the cameras can do.
Yeah, no Sony camera supports this. Will a future Sony camera supports it? I don't know. I read somewhere, I think on Sony Alpha Rumors, that it's not going to come in the next year or two because it produces so much heat in the camera while in use that it will need a completely new generation of
Yeah.
cooling mechanism. I don't know.
Right.
And honestly, I haven't seen a lot of issues with the throughput, like the amount of information that Sony camera currently needs. But future cameras, I don't know if they're going to 8K 60, 120. I don't know. Maybe
Is Sony the only company that's using this type of card?
CFA is only Sony at the moment.
Okay.
CFB, which also has the 4 version, is even faster, like I think even twice as fast as the CFA version, because it has dual the lanes of the CFA, and the card itself is bigger. And again, I'm not sure if there is any camera that currently supports CFB 4 version. But it's likely that this will come before CFA because some of the cameras are larger with larger cooling mechanisms. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But at the moment, the point is that if you're buying this, only buy it if you're interested in the fast transfer to the computer with a supported card reader. So if you're just buying the card, it will not help you. If you're just buying the card reader, it will not help you. And if you want to use it in a camera and think that it will do anything for existing cameras, no, it won't. Just for the transfer to the computer. So, but it's twice as fast, so that's a lot.
So if you're constantly filling up your video
and your card and you want a faster workflow when you're transferring, like, I don't know, half a terabyte to a computer every day, yeah, that's cool. But yeah, otherwise, it's not going to help you. So that's the Prograde CFA 4 reader and card. And let's talk about some new products. So we talked, I think, in the last LensVid Talk about Astrhori, the lens manufacturer, and now they have a very interesting lens. It's an affordable full frame 120 millimeter f2.8 2x macro lens. So that's a mouthful. It's kind of a long thing, but basically it's a 120 millimeter 2x macro. That's the point, and it costs, just wait for it, $370. That's nothing.
Yeah,
that's really nothing. Now I have no idea if it's good or not, but even if it's okay, and remember when you're shooting with macro lenses, you're usually not shooting at f2.8 anyway. You're not shooting wide open. You're going to shoot probably at f8, f11. Right. So if this is okay at f8 or even f11, that's going to be a fantastic lens, because why not? 120 millimeter 2x macro, great. It's fantastic. And it's not a problem. It's a manual focus lens because most macro shooting is done manually. At least we shoot mostly manual. So that's
Did
a great.
Did they mention what the closest distance was?
I'm assuming it's there. I can write it on the screen, but without knowing it by heart, I would assume it's not very close, because 120 millimeter.
Right. Usually.
It's the close one are usually when the lens is shorter. So yeah. I think it's for longer focal lengths is usually nicer with like butterflies and stuff like that. The drawback is that if you don't have autofocus, then you need the subject to be semi-stationary. If it moves all the time, there's no way of manual focusing. So I know it is what it is, but it's inexpensive. That's the point, and it will be interesting to see some reviews of this. Edelkrone had recently announced a new jib called the JibPLUS. And we have did you see it? The original jib?
I think so.
Yeah, we have it in the studio. It's nice. I know I never really utilize it the way I hoped I would. Probably it's up, it's on me not doing so. We use it a couple of times, but not enough. But this one is much, much bigger. I think it's twice the size, so you have a lot more reach. It has a new counterweight system, and it works obviously with the robotic head that they have, and with the new Tripod X, which I don't remember if we covered.
That's the one that kind of moves
Yeah,
up and down on
it's
its
a
legs.
really strange contraption.
Looks like a creature of some
Yeah,
kind.
basically it has motors in. It's a tripod that has motors in the legs, which can shorten specific. Like you can shorten one leg, and I don't know. It's we talked about this before. I'm not sure what the actual use case for this is, but if you're connecting this with the jib and with the head, maybe it actually makes some sort of sense, because you can, I don't know, lower it or change the orientation somehow, which you can't do without. I don't know. It's another point of you know, movement basically that you can add to your shots. So that's that. It's an expensive unit. We're talking $2,200, something like that. Before, like, it will cost more after like the early period of they usually have like a discount in early on when they're launching a product, and then it goes up in price. So it's an expensive jib. So let's move over to the next product, and this is something from Zoom, and they have a new, fairly small handheld recorder called the H1 XLR. So this is an H1, but with an XLR, two, I think, XLRs, and it's a 32-bit float recorder,
Right.
so that's cool, and it's very, very inexpensive. We're talking $150.
Yeah.
So you have a Zoom
F3.
F3, not
Right.
yeah. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, the F3 is kind of like the perfect unit to attach to a boom pole. And if it winds up knocking into a few things as you're using it, it's kind of reinforced. It has, I forgot what metal is used in the chassis, but it's a metal chassis. It's very toughly built, and even has little protective bars near the LCD screen. So you can bump that into some stuff. Like you can drop it. It will survive. Whereas this one doesn't seem to have that kind of build or, protective anything around it.
This is more of a handheld thing, I think.
Right. Yes. It definitely looks like it fits in your palm more comfortably, and it's sort of got some rounded edges, so it's ergonomic. But what I also noticed was that there are many more buttons on this than on the F3. So
Yeah.
it's probably a little bit more intuitive and easier to operate than the F3, which you have to go into the menu for, or you have to press a few buttons for really anything. It's not a bad thing, but it just gives you a different way of operating a 32-bit float.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that it's a different use case.
Right.
And again, it's cheaper, so I don't know if it's good, but $150, that's for a 32-bit float XLR recorder.
It's great.
Yeah. Okay. Nanlite had this is something that they Nanlite showed back in NAB, but I think that it was just fairly recently released, like last month.
Only
or so.
a few people saw it, and no one believed them.
It's called Nanlite Alien. So that's a new series of panels, very professional panels. Now the at least the watt is not like super high. It's 150 and 300, so it's not like super high, but they're very like robustly built from what I've seen, with a lot of features. Very professional. They're aimed for professional. They're, I think, IP55.
54.
54,
Right.
I don't know, 55, 54, but they have like it has a ballast, so it's protected via some sort of not a case, rubber,
right,
yeah, it's you can cover it with a cover basically, and the unit itself is fully water protected or rain protected, whatever, and yeah, it's supposed to be for like rental houses, and I'm guessing in larger productions. It's not super powerful, but it's much more robust. The drawback is the price. This is $1,500 for the 300C and $1,000 for the 150. And I mean, if you're only interested in the output, there are much, much cheaper options on the market for getting more or less the same output. But again, if you're a rental house and people are destroying your lights all the time, then you probably better investing in something that will last for a longer time, maybe cost twice or even 3 times as much as a cheap light or inexpensive light, but it will stand much more abuse basically. So that's the Nanlite Alien 150 and 300C lights, panel lights. Deity has a fairly new mic. This is the Deity S-Mic 3. We have tested the S-Mic 2 and the 2 and 2S, I think, the previous generation basically. Okay. They were cool. We used them for a long time, I think, as our main studio microphones before we moved to some others, but they're still in our possession, and if we need like a couple of mics, we will definitely use them on production. They're very good. The new ones, I don't know, you saw some videos. What are your thoughts?
It seems like the main difference is that this one is made out of aluminum. I think the previous ones were brass or some other type of metal that was heavier. So now it's using machined aircraft aluminum, and it's like 20 grams or 30 grams.
40 I think.
Yeah,
that's the point. And I think I looked at some comparison that they made or somebody made into like this compared to the NTG, the Rode 3, I think. And it was like, and the Sennheiser 418 or whatever, one of the Sennheisers, and it was like half the weight.
Yeah.
That's nice. But I'm thinking, I'm not a boom operator, so by any means. So I'm maybe I don't know what I'm saying. And if you're a boom operator and you have other thoughts, write us in the comments. But let's say that this is like half the weight or so of the 80 grams versus 160 or 80 or whatever, half the weight of a different like comparable sort of mic. Is it that like 80 grams is going to make your back hurts even after a few hours? I don't know.
I also wonder if it's intended for people on long hiking excursions where they have to hike for several days and they have to get their weight of their pack down to the
80 grams, like
lowest.
The difference.
It shouldn't make that much of a difference, even over a long period of time.
You can put it in two ways. You can say this is half the weight of the comparable.
That makes it sound exciting.
Which is exciting, and then you can say it's 80 grams less than the next heavier mic or whatever. 80 grams. It's like, it's not that meaningful.
If we were talking about a lens, that wouldn't really make that much of a difference. 80 grams.
I don't think it makes much of a difference either way. But again, I'm not a boom operator, so maybe boom operators have a different view of this. Now, I'm not sure if there are any other significant differences.
That means it shakes less if you're moving it around.
Usually I don't know how it is with booms, but I can tell you that with cameras, actually, if you want to reduce shake, you usually want heavier weight, not lighter weight. But I'm not sure if it's a valid comparison. It's a different thing. Anyway, so that's the Deity S-Mic 3, and it costs, I think, something like $400, something like that. Yeah, which is, for them, it's maybe a reasonable price, but if you compare it to the Rode and especially to Sennheiser, cheaper, right? Yeah, it's significantly cheaper. But
that's why I when I got a regular shotgun mic that I could plug in, not
they have obviously a full range of
Deity 3 Pro.
This is an XLR mic. This is their like top of the line.
But that's why I bought that one, because it was cheaper.
And we didn't mention, I think it comes in two versions. There is a short and a full size one.
Right.
So I think that you didn't really. If we get to meet them in IBC, I think we saw them in one of the previous IBCs, and I had the chance to really talk to them. They're really nice people. Maybe they can explain why use a shorter one and why use the longer one.
Right.
It's not special to them. There are a lot of like mics where you get a shorter pencil size mic and a longer one. So, you know, it's quite common in the industry. Now let's move over to Godox, and they have a line of panels which is, I would say, quite the opposite of the Nanlite that we just talked about. It's called the LITEMONS or Mons? Not
LITEMONS.
Mons, yeah.
That's how I would pronounce it.
1 O, not 2. Yeah, so LITEMONS. And LITEMONS LP, and these are RGB panels. I think that the Nanlite, by the way, is RGB WW. So it's like, again, it's the panel itself is very high quality. These ones I'm not sure, but it's basically both RGB and bicolor, and they come in, I think, 40 watts, 80 and 120. And there is also a bicolor version of probably the 120. Now, these are supposed to be much, much cheaper or less expensive panels, or much more affordable. I don't have much to say about them. I think that they are white, right?
Yeah, I wanted to say that before. That's what struck me. And in the video that they put out, it was like in a white room. So I'm not really sure what kind of color scheme or why they're going with that. But then again,
they're called Lite. So I'm guessing
Yeah.
Lite is also light, like white. I know, maybe it's me, but yeah.
This is another thing that I've actually wondered about, is why cameras, I mean, cameras are black, most cameras are black, because it enables you to be kind of like nondescript and maybe subtle and hide behind things and take pictures. But it also, when it's black, it's going to get hotter. It's going to attract more sunlight. So maybe a white light is something that you can put outside and it won't get too hot.
I never thought about it like this. I can tell you one thing. We're shooting a lot in the studio. You're shooting a lot outdoors. I'm shooting a lot indoors.
Yeah.
So I can tell you for indoors, actually black, what?
I was going to say that won't make a difference inside, right?
No, but it actually does make a difference, and I prefer it to be black. I prefer everything to be black, because sometimes what we do in here is we darken the whole thing, and we want to prevent any sort of reflections or light bouncing out of anything.
Right.
So when we are shooting products, we sometimes encapsulate, like have black fabric all over the place, like on the camera, around the camera. So just the lens is poking out of a black fabric. You cut a hole, put the lens out, and everything else is black. And I wouldn't want a white camera. In this context, if you put a black fabric in front, it doesn't matter. But sometimes I wouldn't want my camera to be white. Not for like the fact that I care if it's white or black. I don't care. But it's in the studio.
Controlled
yeah.
shooting.
So for that, I'm not sure if camera companies think about this, but I think about it. So, for me, it's not. So that's the Godox. We don't have much to say about them. They're fairly inexpensive. 4, I think, version, or maybe 5. RGB and bicolor panels. So that's the Godox LITEMONS. Ulanzi has something interesting, small but interesting. It's called the Vlogpod TT38. So it's, how would you even describe it?
So wait, did it have start-stop function on it?
No, as far as I know, no. And this is one thing that I wanted to comment on. Like, if I would make it, this is the first thing that I would add, like an actual remote on it, because basically what it is it's a table tripod, although you can probably connect it to other stuff. You looked at that, and a hand grip that you can use for like vlogging and stuff like that. So you can put it on a table, you can hand hold it, and you have a button where you press it, mechanically it just spins and opens up, which is kind of cool. But
despite aside from the twisting, to me it appeared a lot like the PJY Mantis Pod, because it has a little piece that comes out of one of the legs and you can hang it on a fence or off of something, and it kind of looks similar to that, which also works reasonably well as a vlogging handheld device. And then there's also a Sony vlogging stick, but that has start-stop functions. It has buttons that you can actually control the camera with. So yeah, it kind of just looks like a Mantis pod with a slightly different kind of mechanics.
They would, in my view, they should definitely do a version of this with a remote.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the Ulanzi Vlogpod TT38. Another, I would say, accessory that is relatively, that one, I'm not sure about the price, but I'm pretty sure it's fairly inexpensive. The next one is also fairly inexpensive, and it's basically SmallRig's lesser expensive version of their follow focus. Now, before we recorded this, we tried to realize what the differences between this follow focus system, and the one that they already have, what the differences are. Did you come to any real conclusions?
Well, the more expensive one that they put out a couple of years ago looks like it does have a NPF battery plate, so then you can attach that and then put on an NPF battery and power it that way. Whereas with this one, it looks like it's only going to be able to be powered via USB, unless it has an internal battery of some kind, which I doubt, but it's possible.
Yeah.
But that would mean that then it's a wireless follow focus, but you still need a wire in it. Whereas the more expensive version that they've had on the market for a while can operate with 0 wires attached.
Yeah. Okay.
So wireless wireless-ish.
Wireless-ish. So yeah, we'll have to, maybe we'll see it in IBC and talk to SmallRig and get them some info on this, and maybe even do a video. So this is the SmallRig less expensive wireless follow focus system, or wireless semi-wireless, I don't know how you want to call it. It sells for around $170. So as an entry-level wireless system, that's pretty cool. And finally, this one is going to be short. We have, this is like a behind-the-scenes sort of thing that I've watched online a couple of weeks ago. I think it was kind of popular. It's basically a rig that was built specifically. It's not a commercial thing. It was built specifically for a movie, and this was a movie with Will Smith. I'm not sure which movie actually, but
Bad Boys.
Bad Boys. Yeah. So
long-awaited sequel.
Yeah. So what this rig does is basically you have the camera, and apparently the actor himself, Will Smith in this case, twist the rig, and it can move between like seeing yourself. You have the camera and the guns. Let's say that he's using a gun that was shown in the scene. Then he wants to shoot, and then he wants to twist the camera to see himself. So instead of like having a camera pointing at him and another camera pointing from him to, it's like a first-person point of view, which can very quickly turn between what the person sees and the person himself. But instead of a cameraman operating this, Will Smith operating that.
The actor themselves.
So that was kind of nice. It's interesting. I'm trying to think if I can build this.
What size camera did they use?
They used probably an Alexa Red or something.
This is a big thing.
Yeah. It's he was wearing like a whole shoulder strap, support thing, and yeah, it's you can't. There is no way of doing this without that.
So then it must have just been recording his face, because it didn't want to get all that other apparatus that he had on him.
I need to rewatch
Was he acting at the same time? That was the point, right?
Yeah. It was taken for the film.
Well, think about this. If you can make a version that works with mirrorless cameras, maybe it won't need all of that stuff.
You can probably put something on your waist.
And then you can get footage, more bigger field of view.
No, even in this, again, I need to rewatch. Well, if this is possible, I'll put it on the screen. But I'm thinking, just on the top of my head, I don't remember how the footage exactly looked, but you can put a strap, I'm thinking, a harness underneath your clothes, in theory. I know, but yeah. No, but you're right that it will make more sense to use it with smaller cameras. The whole ring would be smaller. Although, if the way that he used it was like spinning it very quickly, and he became very proficient with that, which is interesting. But if you have a small camera, we talked about this just a few minutes ago. If you twist something, it will be far less stable. With a large camera, you can twist it much quicker without it getting too shaky. So, I know, but it's even if we just not twisting it very quickly, but you're the person who's shooting and you twisting it just between these two like positions, like front facing or actor facing, whatever. Could be useful for some scenes like indie. I'm sure that in indie movies would love to have a rig like this for like smaller cameras, just playing with it. Maybe one of the, I don't know, SmallRig will announce I'm not sure that I have any need for that, but I don't know, maybe.
Seems pretty niche.
Yeah. No, I mean, in this case, I think it was built specifically from all sorts of like existing components to work with this. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So that was the Will Smith rig for Bad Boys. And this is everything that we have for you in LensVid Talk 26, which is the last one that we're recording in this session. We recorded 3 of them in this go. So as always, don't forget to subscribe. You can read the full text with all of the links to all these products on LensVid as usual. Thank you, Lou. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye.